across the country. And so
Right.
is it or isn't it?
Well, I can tell you this, right? My dad's name is Joe. I have an uncle named James. Never met him before. So who knows?
Well, there you go. We're going to find out during this break.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Fat Meat Fridays with Gina King. Gina Towns. Liz King is our regular contributor on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And our very special guest is Brother Joe Worthy, when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's sharp. She's fearless. I don't know what they told you, but if they told you that cutting me off is how we're going to get clicks, stop it now. She's that girl, and she's bringing all of that to your radio this summer. Amanda Seals is here. I am Amanda Seals. Comedian, artist, actress, activist, truth teller. The woman who never bites her tongue is coming to KBLA Talk 1580. I'm coming! And baby, the conversations are about to be unmatched. Every Friday, she's going to be lit noon to 2 p.m. and back again 4 to 6 p.m. starting Friday, July 17th. Only on KBLA Talk 1580. Amanda Seals, keeping it real, keeping it raw, and keeping it rooted. Politics, pop culture, Black excellence, the stuff they don't want us talking about. Amanda's talking about all of it. You keep interrupting me when I'm talking, and you don't want to hear the point that I'm going to make. And yet you want me to respect your point. And that's not how a debate works. This is not your average radio show. This is a Seals Summer. Fridays, noon to 2, 4 to 6. Starting Friday, July 17th. Only on KBLA Talk 1580. Don't just listen. Tune in.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI. Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns. Our regular contributor, Liz King, is also joining us. Our very special guest is Joe Worthy. Joe, let me begin the questioning with the spirit of James Lawson and organizing. I can only imagine that at this hour, I knew Dr. Lawson, my father and mother knew Dr. Lawson as well. I can only imagine that the work that you're doing at this hour is nothing less than divine, organizing young people to participate in our various processes in a nonviolent way. Joe?
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I do think it's, I do see it as God's work, right? And going into this work, I really view it as a calling, a vocation, not really a job in a sense. It's something that's really needed in the world. And what really lights me up when I do this work is as you start to talk with and you build relationships with young folks and like all folks around the world, and they start to understand that they have not just a little bit of control, but a lot of control over their futures, over their communities, over the things that they want to see happen in the world. They start to get this spark in their eye, you know? And you see then that they understand that nothing that they want for their families is out of reach. And I think that's probably the most beautiful thing about this process. Of course, it takes some commitment. It takes some grit to get through to that side. But to just see in people's eyes that they know that it's possible, that if they commit to this style of working long enough and with enough diligence, that they'll get there. I think that's the most beautiful thing about it. Yeah, and it is certainly divine to see that in people.
Gina?
Joe, I have a question. You spark something in my thought process as you talk about a spark in people's eyes. Do you think that when you talk about young people and maybe you meet their parents along the way, depending on what age group they're in, do you think there's still a spark in the eye of an older generation? Or has a generation lost hope because of what was not achieved? Can we get the spark back in everybody's eye?
I think so. And actually, it's so funny because I was just talking to well, we don't say former Academy members, we just say Academy members, because once you're in the Academy, you're in the Academy for life, right? And this particular member is doing some really critical work in Idaho. If you've seen everything that's been going on there with ICE enforcement and things like that, some real horrible things happening. But this person is moving into retirement, right? And this trend I've seen, especially in the United States, is that retired people are stepping up. You know, there's definitely a spark in their eye. So I've been saying that they're the new college students. You know what I mean? Like they got a lot of time on their hands, and they got a lot of things they want to see change in the world. And so at least, yes, you know, with older folks who are edging towards retirement, there's definitely that spark. They're looking to learn. They're looking for things to do. And that's a big piece of it. As for everyone else, yeah, I think so. I think, you know, I can speak to the Academy. It's a very intergenerational space, right? So we have everything from people who are just like turning 18 all the way up to like 78. And the big chunk of folks are, I guess what we call tweeners. They're like from 40 to 55. And they're ready to go, you know? And, you know, obviously if you commit to the Academy, which is a pretty rigorous process, you know, I imagine you'd be ready to go. But there are a lot of people who want to get in and do this work. And I think the issue is that these spaces have been reserved just for young people, right? And so we say this all the time, we need to get the young people active, but there are people from age 30 up to 60 that still want to do things, still want to learn things and want to engage. And I think the beautiful thing about those people too is that, you know, they have a lot of other things to offer to movement spaces. They have, you know, resources, they have world and lived experience. And so when we see that intergenerational connection happen, I think that's where the most beautiful collaboration comes out of that process, for sure.
How do you actually bridge that gap when they're in the same space, given technology and, you know, the difference between the newspaper and the nightly news versus TikTok?
Right on. Well, we do it intentionally, right? And so, especially because in the online space, we use a lot of more advanced technology, whether it's like digital whiteboards and things like that. We take the time. And so that's the thing about intergenerational spaces, right? You have to really honor everyone's humanity where they're at and take the time to bring them into the space with intention, right? So, you know, if there's a person, I remember this one woman from the West Coast, she was 78, you know? And I was like, hey, well, we work on this mural board. We'll take the time to, you know, teach you some of these things, and you just slow it down, right? And we also create conditions where everyone's a teacher and a learner. So if you're a younger person you are responsible for bringing on board maybe this older person, right? And if you're an older person with a certain experience in a certain piece, you are responsible for filling the gap in that younger person, right? And so we try to create this dynamic where everyone has something that they can offer, no matter their age, or not even everyone has something they can offer because of their age, because of where they're at in life, right? And so we want everyone to contribute in that sense.
Liz?
Yeah, part of what I think is so compelling here is thinking about strategic nonviolence as an intentional approach to social change, right? And we're in a moment in which there is a lot of social change happening in ways that are profoundly dehumanizing. We are seeing a president who's sort of run amok, breaking the rules all over the place, doing everything he can to make life harder for everybody, no matter who they are. And I think it would be great to hear from you, Joe, to talk about why strategic nonviolence, like why is this the way that you move in the world? What makes it, why do we call it strategic nonviolence? What have we learned in the past? And why do you think that that is such a powerful tool for people to use right now in the face of so much institutionalized violence and oppression?
Absolutely. That's a great question. And I'm going to start with why we call it strategic nonviolence, right? The name of the academy is very intentional because for decades, there's been this sort of divide. I was just having this conversation yesterday between principled nonviolence and strategic nonviolent action, right? And on the one hand, people are thinking about how we live our lives day to day and things like that. On the other hand, people are thinking about all we need is a good strategy, right? And we'll be able to win this thing. The truth is, and what's actually bared out in the data in terms of people who are engaging in movement work, is that you actually need both, right? And so the reason why we call it strategic nonviolence is because we work with people who want to develop real, no kidding, hard hitting strategies, right? But also want to do that inner work of figuring out how they can sustain themselves in this movement and actually how they treat each other and how they treat people. Another big part of movement spaces is the conflict that people aren't able to get through, right? And we specifically talk about that, and we talk about beloved community. So why does it matter now? What's happening right now, you can argue, is the most blatant, I'm not going to say most egregious, but it's the most blatant use of presidential power that we've seen in a really long time, right? And in order to combat that, there are certain steps that we need to take, right? There are certain things that we need to do. I'm not going to put these in any particular order because they're all critically important. One of the things that we have to do is we have to prepare ourselves, right? Both our mind and our inner world for a protracted struggle, right? So that means taking the time to do some of the inner work that you need to do to deal with some of the things that come with engaging in strategic nonviolent action like this. I think the next thing that we need to do is develop real hard-hitting strategies. So one of the things that spark people's eyes is when you take them through a strategic process and you're sort of breaking down everything that's going on in their world. And they start to see holes, right? They start to see holes in their oppressors. And they're saying, well, hold on a second. We have the resources, we have the time, and we have the ability to change this thing, right? The only way they get there is if they take the time to break down their strategic situation. And that's a big part of what we do, right? Now, the only way they're going to realize it, right, is if they have the fortitude to deal with the repression, to deal with things like sleepless nights, right? To deal with internal conflict in order to get to the other side of that thing, right? And so that's what's so important about the name. I can't necessarily get into specifics in every particular situation because every situation that I go into or that we engage in is different. But what I can say, the formula is, steel yourself from the inside out. Develop real, no kidding strategic operations, and you have a lot better chance of getting to the other side of what you're trying to do.
Joe, let me ask you this question. You raised the point about principled nonviolence and strategic nonviolence, and I appreciate you making that distinction for us. And then you paralleled it to the idea of how we handled this unusual presidency. Hence, identifying with the resistance movement to what we are looking at with respect to this authoritarian space that we're in. But I'm going to be candid with you and with Liz and with Gina. If we get a president elected with my vote who does not use some of this power to either undo it or to push this country in a direction that it belongs and needs to go to with respect to women's rights, human rights, strengthening the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, repairing the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division, reestablishing the Department of Education, allowing the CDC and the NIH to be autonomous when it comes to looking for diseases and making determinations about the importance of vaccines. Listen, if we don't learn anything from what's going on about presidential power, it's that we've not been asking of the Democrats who so-called Liz speak for us to do more. I mean, I feel in this moment like I didn't get much as I love the Obamas 8 years, I feel like I didn't get enough out of Obama. And Joe Biden at 80 years old, strategic nonviolence, hell, he never took a strategic risk. I mean, this guy's got more yesterdays than tomorrows. And so explain to me strategic nonviolence if we do regain control of Congress, if we do regain control of the White House, if we have our way, Liz, you know, someone's going to have to keep some heat on these new normal people. Liz, Joe?
Well, I'm going to say this, and because I've been repeating this with partners in local areas who perhaps have been working on get out the vote in midterms and things like that. You know, the ballot and beyond, right? The ballot and beyond. And the point is that do your GOTV, right? Like do those things to ensure that the electorate shows up and shows out in the way that, you know, they might want it to. But you have to build into your strategy something beyond that process and ensuring that when any of these people get into office and where they want to be, you are building your strategy as through to when they do exactly what it is they need to do, right? And so when we're building strategies, we can't stop on election day, right? Election day is a pit stop in the strategy, right? And then the rest is moving into what do we need to make happen and keeping it at the top of the agenda of those things, right? And so what I would say to the folks is, as you're building out your plans over the next few years, right? Don't stop your plan in November, you know, and continue to follow up. And I think that's a lesson I think we've learned since the Obama administration. You know what I mean? Squeaky wheel gets to grease, and for a lot of people, they weren't squeaking enough, right? And so the utilization of strategic nonviolence in this process is really important. Another dangerous thing that could happen as we move into this space is that some people, you know, that I talk to is like, oh, I wish we could just go back to, you know, when things were normal. It's like, but it was never normal for us, you know? Like we were dealing with mass incarceration. We've got books like The New Jim Crow. We've got books by like Slavery for Another Name. So normal has never been good, you know? So as we develop these strategies, you know, we're developing them towards a new normal to get us to a place to where we haven't been. And in some ways, right, we could see this as a mobilization opportunity, right? But of course, that mobilization doesn't get us anywhere without some strategic outlook.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns, Liz King, and Brother Joe Worthy. More when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Loyal Heights residents in California are demanding answers after weeks of dealing with a warehouse fire and the smell of rotting food. At a tense town hall Thursday, residents booed Black Mayor Karen Bass and chanted, quote, "Clean it up," end quote.
We have offered cash assistance to impacted households.
Many say the city and Lineage Logistics have not done enough. Black Flint, Michigan Mayor Sheldon Neely says the city has met its obligations under the 2016 water lawsuit settlement. He says all lead service lines have been replaced, though residents are still being advised to use water filters. The lawsuit followed Flint's water crisis when a supply switch caused widespread lead contamination. And teams trying to sign free agent LeBron James are reportedly making their pitches through voice notes sent to his agent. ESPN says there's no timetable for a decision. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
July is Disability Pride Month, a time to celebrate identity, individuality, and inclusion. Pride means showing up as your full, authentic self without apology. Let's celebrate what makes every one of us unique. Easter Seals Disability Services honors Disability Pride Month. Learn more at socal.easterseals.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The final game at SoFi Stadium in this year's World Cup is today at noon. Spain and Belgium meet up in the quarterfinals in Inglewood. The last two quarterfinals are tomorrow, Norway versus England and Argentina versus Switzerland. The World Cup Championship match is Sunday, July 19th in East Rutherford, New Jersey. The Dodgers are back in action tonight. They start a 3-game series at home against Arizona. The Major League Baseball All-Star break starts after Sunday's game. Kawhi Leonard's trade to the Toronto Raptors has been put on hold by the NBA. The NBA said it will not make the trade official until the league completes its investigation into an alleged salary cap scandal involving Leonard. Clippers owner Steve Ballmer is accused of violating salary cap rules to pay Leonard extra money through an outside company. Stay tuned on this mess. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We love America in spite of, not because of. And that's the deepest kind of love. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
This November, you'll decide who leads California. So shouldn't you hear directly from the people asking for your vote? Join us for California Voices, a political town hall and ballot forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026, California Voices. Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
Unapologetically progressive. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580. We don't tell you what to think, just what to think about.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. Let's get something straight, shall we? Holding a black elected official accountable is not the same as having a personal beef with them. That distinction matters, and too often it gets blurred, sometimes on purpose, I think. The minute someone raises a real concern about outcomes, about votes, about spending priorities, about broken promises, it gets reframed as an attack, as disrespect, as tearing down our own. We need to stop that, y'all. That framing does a disservice to the very communities these leaders represent. Accountability is not betrayal. Accountability is what elected office requires from everybody, regardless of the seat or who's sitting in it. Let me ask you a quick question. Do you think I have a personal beef with Donald Trump? It ain't personal. It's his anti-black policies. You feel me? So why is it always framed as personal animus when the critique is in black? See, you can miss me with that mess. Black communities have fought too hard and for too long to get representation at the table. That fight doesn't end once someone wins an election and becomes president of the country, or for that matter, the city council. If anything, it raises the stakes. Representation without results is not the goal. Representation that delivers, now that's the goal. So, in the future, when we talk about a policy failure, let's talk about the policy. Let's keep our eyes on the actual record, the votes, the budgets, the promises, the perennially missed deadlines, the outcomes in people's daily lives. Because the moment we start treating accountability as disloyalty, we lose the ability to ask for better from anyone. We must never surrender our agency to be outraged when our leaders underperform. Our communities deserve leaders who welcome scrutiny, not ones who hide behind identity to avoid it. Now, let me put my hard hat on, go back outside, and see if these procrastination Crenshaw construction crews have shown up yet. I'm saving space for grace, but if these trucks don't show up soon, well, you already know. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Polly drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to Fat Meat Fridays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest is Joe Worthy. Our regular contributor, Liz King, also joins us. Welcome forward to the show, everyone. Joe Worthy.
Hey, Congressman, loving the conversation.
Joe Worthy, I have a question for you about messaging. What kind of messaging in this unique space that we find ourselves in are you using, or do you find most compelling to attract young people or people generally to the idea of organizing?
That's a really good question. And so I'll say this, right? So we just finished a week-long engagement with HBCU students, over 20 HBCU students down at Fisk University, where we brought them together from across the country. And some of the concerns were, would we get any, applications for this? For young Black students to come to this? We were actually overwhelmed with applications. We weren't able to get everyone in who wanted to come and signed up. And the messaging was actually really simple. Like, do you want to win? And they didn't shy away from the idea of strategic nonviolence. They didn't shy away from the work, because we were very clear. Like, this is going to be a hard week, perhaps the hardest week of your life, if you come and you train with us. And they all stepped up to the plate, and they did it. And so I think a lot of the young folks are out there searching, right? I've read a lot of their stories, obviously, because we had an application process and we wanted to get them in. And they're trying to find a way, and I think more to the point, they're trying to find a way in the organizing world with people who look like them, And, I don't hold any punches. The Strategic Nonviolence Academy is a Black-led organization, and there's not many of those from in the nonviolent space, right? And they were, and over again, the young folks were very, very happy that they were learning this way of engaging in strategic nonviolence from people who looked like them. And I think that's part of the message as well, right? Like, we do this, and in a lot of ways, as a people, and I won't, I won't hold any punches here. We've done it, I would argue, better than anyone else in world history as a people, right? In the belly of the beast, if you will, right? So everyone talks about America and abroad and what it does and everything's like that. Like, we were here, right, in the apartheid system and nearly brought it to its knees, right? And I think that's an important thing to understand, that this is in our lineage, this is in our process, and we shouldn't shy away from that. This is what we do, right? So that was the message.
Joe, how different is it from region to region in our country? And are you in touch with other people who are doing something similar? Because I will tell you that listening to you, I haven't really heard anybody describe what they're doing quite the way that you describe it, on a community level and engagement with the segments of the population at one time, and forming that bond to work together. I've continually asked that question on this show: how do we bridge the gap between generations, and having a generation in the middle who really didn't have to go through this, but has actually lived the fruit of the civil rights movement, and standing on the shoulders of generations that have come before. But how do you engage with people around the country? Because it is different from the South to the Midwest to the East Coast. So what is the strategy, and I know that you are taking some leadership role in it. I just feel it.
Yeah. I think one of the things that one of the ways that we approach it, right? So we've worked with people in LA, right? Headed over to Oregon. There's people in Idaho, the Deep South, like all these different places. And I think what's interesting about how we do it is that though it is very rigorous, all of the processes are based in the lived experiences of the people that we're working with, right? And so we tell them, when they come into the process, it's like, this isn't a spectator sport, right? We need you to bring your whole self into this space. And that sort of gives them the opportunity to make the space what they need it to be, right? Now, there are some key touch points and things that objectively have to get done, right? As we go through this process, we do need to analyze this, right? We aren't uplifting one culture, but we do need to understand our culture, right? And the role it plays in our movement spaces. And so in that sense, I think we did a really good job of ensuring that we create the dynamic where people can bring their full selves into it, right? And it might sound a little, like out there, but there's not very much that's prescriptive, in the process, right? The only prescription is that you work hard and you focus, right? And then and we guide them through that process. Now, it is different from area to area. Each area is dealing with different things and the same thing. You know what I mean? Like one of the biggest things that people are dealing with in every area is that there's so many different niche issues that people have, that to get the capacity you need to really push a city or a state forward, something's got to give, and everyone needs to start working together, right? And figuring out how we start to work together. And it's a new dynamic in that there's all different sorts of like grant scenarios. There's all different sorts of interests within like all these different people, and we don't shy away from that conversation, right? I think that's what makes us different, right? Like we have to ask the serious question: in what way is our funding streams affecting your ability to be effective here locally, right? In what way do grant requirements get in the way of actually moving real policies forward? And they start to have those conversations and unearth some real things that are happening. And so very different, also very similar.
When we come forward, I have a question about the individual when they come to your setting about whether or not they are able to release their trauma and their drama by focusing it elsewhere when it's not turned inward and we can turn ourselves outward. How does that really help everybody?
You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns. More when we come forward right here at KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
You deserve a treat, a $10 bill credit treat. If you get an LADWP paper bill but go online to pay it, stop! Break up with your mailbox. It's time to go paperless. With paperless billing, bill reminders come straight to your inbox. You can access 7 years of past bills in your online account, and you don't have to deal with paper clutter piling up. It's a win for you, your time, and the environment. $10 bill credit for new LADWP paperless billing signups. LADWP.com/paperless.
Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found tax relief advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-575-8935. 800-575-8935. That's 800-575-8935.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is connecting you with services and solutions. Domestic violence and family violence is when someone in an intimate or family relationship tries to gain or maintain power and control over another through a wide range of abusive behaviors. Every single act may amount to abuse. Abuse can take on various forms: psychological and emotional, physical and economic, and sexual abuse. The Genesee Center Incorporated is a nationally recognized nonprofit domestic violence prevention and intervention organization, housing women and children from 30 days up to 2 years through emergency and transitional shelters. The Genesee Center also provides support services like mental health counseling, life skills classes, computer training, job referrals, after-school programs for children, field trips, tutoring, and comprehensive direct legal services. If you need help or you'd like to donate or volunteer, call the Genesee Hotline, 1-800-479-7328. That's 1-800-479-7328, or visit genesee.org. Everyone has the right to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Knock, knock, Capital One Bank guy.
Wow, Charles Barkley?
I just moved into the neighborhood. Can I borrow some Wi-Fi?
Sure, Chuck. That's what the Capital One Cafe is here for. Open 7 days a week.
Oh, can I use your ATM? My dog walker only takes cash.
Anything for a neighbor.
Can I try the catchphrase?
Sure, take it for a spin.
There's no fees and minimums on Capital One checking accounts.
Nice, Chuck. I'll take it from here. Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Visit CapitalOne.com/bank guide for details. Capital One and a member FDIC.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And before we continue our final segment on this Fat Meat Friday, I have some fairly exciting news. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show will remain in its regularly scheduled hours Monday through Thursday. But starting next Friday from 12 to 2, there will be a new show right here at KBLA Talk 1580. And on August 1st, the show presently hosted by Gina Towns, known as Fat Meat Fridays, will be live on Saturdays and played again on Sundays. And it will either be Fat Meat Fridays or it will be Sizzling Saturdays or Sizzling Sundays. We're not quite clear yet, but I want to congratulate Gina for her hard work. She will have her own show that's tied by definition directly to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. But most importantly, Gina's personality is going to help strengthen KBLA on the weekends. Gina, how do you feel about that?
Hey, well, I am very excited. I am very grateful. First, always to God and to Tavis Smiley, who is the God of KBLA Talk 1580. I'd like to thank you, Jesse, as well for entrusting me with the production and direction of the show. For those who know where the stars are, Jesse Jackson Jr. is a 5-star rated show. And of course, Tavis Smiley, as you've heard throughout the commercials, is number 14 amongst all radio hosts in Radio Land. So we congratulate not only the station, but everyone there, and certainly to Taz, who is our engineer here on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Thank you. And to Miles and Andy, who are our engineers at KBLA. We thank you, Liz, for being one of those people who has been a bright light on the show. And we look forward to moving to, I'll tell you, Sizzling Saturday on into Sunday. And as we transition, we can't be Fat Meat Friday anymore. So this is our final segment on the Fat Meat Friday series.
I'm also very excited for Liz King because it is my hope, my sincere hope, that Liz will be a regular contributor on one of the shows between Monday through Thursday on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. She is so bright. She is so well-spoken, so thoughtful, has a wealth of experience that matters to everything that we do right here on our show and our activism. Liz, thank you so much, and congratulations to you as well.
Thank you so much, Congressman. And just again, to make sure Gina gets all her flowers for this show and all of the work that she does across the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I mean, we are in a moment in which people are being denied access to information. They're being denied opportunities for thoughtful and meaningful conversation. And I know that the both of you are stepping in to fill that void, and just incredibly grateful to both of you and the opportunity to be a small part of that.
Joe, before we get to your final word of hope, I do have to ask you this question. How is it that our listeners who are driving right now on the 405, the 101, the 5, the 10, the 118, and the 110 in Los Angeles, but we're also getting feedback from Florida, Georgia, and Texas on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show today? How can we be supportive of your work?
That's a really great thing. I think the biggest thing is spread the word about the Academy. We want to touch the lives of so many people here in the United States. Spread strategicnonviolenceacademy.org. And the biggest thing is to come learn with us, right? So we believe in a teacher-learner relationship. So I learn from people as much as they feel like they learn from me. And the more that we can have a community space where we're all growing and learning together, I think the better, right? So engage in the process so that we can engage in the world in a more meaningful way, I hope.
Liz, any final thoughts for Joe and Gina before I ask Joe and give him this moment and mentally to prepare himself for a 2-minute word of hope to our listening audience? Liz?
Yeah, I will say, Congressman, I'm now, what I'm going to do after this is I'm going to go read From Protest to Politics, and I'm going to go think about Bayard Rustin. And you brought forward this question of how do we hold our leaders accountable? How do we ensure that as much bad is happening now, even more good happens in the future? What can each one of us do in our roles with whatever tools we have at our disposal to create the world each of us deserve? And so I'm really looking forward to that. Appreciate always this conversation and this show. We'll hand it back to you, but I have my reading list is now adding that brilliant essay from Bayard Rustin as we challenge his idea that we need either the protest or the politics when we always know that we need both.
Joe, I'm going to reverse the order. I'm going to ask you for your word of hope because I think this being the last Fat Meat Friday, that Gina should have the final word. Joe, your word of hope to the nation.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. I would say my word of hope is that we've been here before, and through sticking together, through keeping our eye on the prize, we've been able to get through the hardest of times. There has been, I have seen a lot of horrible things that have happened around the world in this work of strategic nonviolence, and I think one thing that remains true is that people with the right why can endure almost any how, right? And if we stabilize ourselves, and if we stick with each other, and if we engage with each other, love each other, and think with each other, we will get to the other side. I've been telling people that I'm going to stop calling it faith, because I think the universe, God, however, whatever your persuasion is, has showed up every time on time, right? And if we just continue to do our part, we'll get to exactly where we need to be.
We're very proud of you, Joe. Thank you for your work. Looking forward to having you back on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Gina, you've gotten a lot of flowers today, and you've gotten a lot of flowers for the last couple of years on this show. Gina, a final word of hope as you transition to even bigger and better things and continue to produce us Monday through Thursday. Gina.
I appreciate these days, I think, is why Jesse and I continue to do this, wanted to do this, and are grateful to do this. But Joe, you just said something. I love when people say things that I can then quote them on. People with the right why will be victorious with the right how. Can you say that one more time so I can have that under my hat, and so can all of our listeners take that? That's the real hope right there.
Oh yeah, people with and it's not my quote, but people who know their why can endure almost any how, and so that's going to get us through.
There you go. People who know their why will get them through their how. And that is kind of major for what we're in right now. But I do want to say one last thing, and that is keep hope alive.
Thank you, Gina. Reinhold Niebuhr at his very best. Thank you, Joe Worthy. Liz, thank you so much. And Gina, thank you for all that you've done to make the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show work, to make it possible. Looking forward to spending all of our weekends on Saturday and Sunday, sizzling Saturday and Sunday. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.